Never, Jeffrey! Jeffrey! I hate you! Mother... I hate you! Something's out of control! Don't Jeffrey, I kill you! God damn it! Look at me, motherfucker!
It is one of the most famous moments in true crime history. Rita Isbell lunging at Jeffrey Dahmer. The world saw raw grief. The media saw a viral sensation. But if you look closer, past the screaming and the carefully placed camera angles, you aren't looking at a spontaneous breakdown. You're looking at a rehearsal. Today, we're exposing how the Dahmer trial wasn't a quest for justice. It was a beta test. Wisconsin was the laboratory, and the Milwaukee cannibal was the catalyst, used to trick 84% of voters into signing away their constitutional rights. This wasn't a tragedy that led to policy reform. This was policy reform disguised as tragedy. To understand the deception, you have to understand court mechanics. In a real high-profile trial, the moment a victim's family member moves toward a defendant, they are intercepted instantly. Now look at Rita's movement. Notice the camera placement. It's perfectly framed. Notice the bailiffs. These are men trained to be human shields, yet they move with a strange, lethargic hesitation. They let the moment happen because the moment was the point. Isbell's performance provided the harrowing emotional anchor needed to sell a massive legal shift. Question 6. What was Question 6? It was a 1993 ballot initiative, known as the Victims' Rights Amendment. It sounded noble, but it was a Trojan horse. It elevated victim protections to the state constitution, specifically securing the victim impact statement, the very theatrical tool Isbell just used, as a permanent right. It passed with a staggering 84% of the vote. You don't get 84% of people to agree on anything unless you give them a monster to fear and a hero to cry with. Wisconsin was the test site for a new era of mass incarceration. Why Wisconsin? Because the establishment needed a proof of concept before going national. The evidence uncovered in this series reveals a trail of political breadcrumbs. 1978. A 17-year-old Dahmer somehow secures an unscheduled personal meeting with the Vice President of the United States. 1991. The case explodes. Just as the DNC needs to shed its soft-on-crime image. The connection. Oxford Apartments manager Sopa Princewill testified that Dahmer held DNC credentials signed by Ron Brown. Why does a lone wolf serial killer need high-level political credentials? Because he was a political asset. The moral rot of the Dahmer case provided the cultural oxygen for Bill Clinton to pass the 1994 crime bill, gut the insanity defense, and usher in the era of mass incarceration. If this was a real crime scene, the Oxford apartments would have been preserved for years of forensic study. Instead, they were demolished just 16 months after the arrest. Why the rush? Because as witnesses like Princewill and neighbor Vernell Bass testified, there were no smells, there were no bodies. The physical evidence was pulverized into scrap at a secret landfill before any independent investigator could take a second look. Once the 1994 crime bill was signed, the monster was no longer a required asset. 2 months later, Dahmer was conveniently murdered in prison. The narrative was brought to a violent, tidy conclusion. No more appeals. No more inconvenient testimonies. The Milwaukee cannibal wasn't a monster who emerged from the shadows. He was a carefully positioned puppet, used to reshape American justice in ways that are still devastating communities today. If you're ready to see the full, explosive breakdown of the forensic impossibilities and the political ties they tried to bury, you need to read my Substack, True Crime Case Reopened. We go deeper than the documentaries ever will, into the medical records, the suppressed witnesses, and the people who orchestrated this 30-year deception. The truth won't stay buried anymore, but I need your help to spread it. Like this video to help us beat the shadow bans and the algorithms. Comment below with your thoughts on question 6. Did you live through the 1991 media frenzy? Share this with someone who still thinks the Netflix version is the whole story. Subscribe and hit the bell. We're just getting started. The machine is hungry. Stop feeding it the lies. I'll see you in the next investigation.